With the Strixhaven expansion just around the corner and boasting a bevy of powerful cards, we figured it was high time to take a look at some of the most powerful and iconic beings in the Magic the Gathering universe. I'm talking about the Planeswalkers. Once nearly omnipotent immortal beings, a cosmic retcon known as the Mending made the multiverse-hopping mages into the memorable figures who serve as the face of Magic the Gathering to this day. I'm AJ Fry, and here's every playable Planeswalker to appear in the Post-Mending lore. AJANI GOLDMANE, whose colors are white and green. Debuting in the Shards of Alara expansion block, AJANI GOLDMANE is a heroic Leonin and a member of the Gatewatch alliance of Planeswalkers. Don't let his occasional bouts of uncontrollable primal rage fool you. AJANI is one of the most noblest and kindest beings in Magic the Gathering, putting his life on the line for his friends time and time again, no matter how much heartbreak and loss he suffers. Aminatou, whose colors are white, blue, and black. The unflappable guise of this enigmatic child conceals her incredible power, the ability to manipulate fate itself. While not much is known about Aminatou, the sight of her spectral moths can be either a blessing or a curse. One touch and your destiny is forever changed to suit her whims. ANGRATH, whose colors are black and red. This bull's packing some heat. The combination of ANGRATH's fire-based magic and chain weapon might call to mind Marvel's Ghost Rider, and the comparison is apt. Like Johnny Blaze, the Minotaur pirate is willing to use his terrifying aura to get what he wants, but deep down, he's just a family man who'd do anything to get back to his loved ones. Aww. ARLINN, whose colors are green and red. Originally an archmage for the Church of Avacyn, Arlinn's Planeswalker spark ignited the night she was overtaken by a lycanthrope curse and showed a horde of devils what big teeth Grandma has. She quickly learned to control the transformation, utilizing her powerful werewolf form in concert with her magic to push back against the extinction of her cursed brethren. Ashiok, whose colors are blue and black. Ashiok, designed to be an evil counterpart for Magic frontman JACE, is a true dreamweaver. As in, they can manipulate nightmares to draw out their victims' deepest fears, seeing terror as the true equalizer that binds good and evil alike. Ashiok considers themselves an artist, reveling in the chaos that results from using fear to pit people against each other, even though more of their flesh turns to black smoke with each new victim. BASRI, whose color is white. One of the more recent additions to the Planeswalker lineup, BASRI's proficiency in sand magic is rivaled only by his devotion to Oketra, the goddess of solidarity. After returning to his home plane after some dimension hopping, only to find it devastated and his goddess dead, BASRI cast aside his crisis of faith and dedicated his life to helping his people rebuild. Calix, whose colors are green and white. As a Nyxborn mana construct, Calix surprised even his creator god by developing a spark. As he was made to hunt down and punish one who escaped to the underworld, Calix used his newfound powers to pursue his Planeswalker mark into the multiverse. Because how can you run away from a tireless sentinel who can follow you anywhere? CHANDRA NALAAR, whose color is red. One of the founding members of the Gatewatch, CHANDRA holds the distinction of being the Planeswalker with the most cards, as of the moment, with a whopping 17 in total. Hailing from a plane populated mostly by non-magical inventors and artificers, this pyromancer with an appropriately fiery temper makes her mark on the multiverse with spunk that matches her powerful magic. DACK FAYDEN, whose colors are blue and red. First appearing in a comic series published by IDW, DACK is a master thief who can't help but get caught red-handed, because he literally has a red hand. He's also our first canonically dead Planeswalker of the Rundown, having perished in the Great War of the Spark. Though he may no longer be with us, his roguish legacy will live on forever in both card and comic form. DARETTI, whose colors are red and black. A goblin with an uncommonly large intellect to match his boundless ambition, DARETTI served as an artificer at the High City of Paliano's Academy. His life changed forever when his spark ignited and saved him from an explosion caused by one of his own faulty creations. Though he did lose the use of his legs in the blast, he still managed to get around on a slick wheelchair. And he's even plotted the downfall of his pupil-turned-rival from the shadows. DAVRIEL, whose colors are black and blue. Once a lawyer on his home plane, the devious DAVRIEL now prefers to make deals with a host of demons, all of whom he's cleverly enslaved via a series of tricky contracts and riddles that ensure he'll never have to surrender his soul. He's seemingly got a soul to spare though, as within old DAVRIEL is an entity born from the soul of a dead plane, occupying his body like a foppish timeshare. DOMRI RADE, whose colors are red and green. At the tender age of 17, DOMRI's status as one of the youngest planeswalkers didn't save him from getting his spark harvested by Elder Dragon Nicol Bolas during the War of the Spark. Granted, he was trying to betray his fellow planeswalkers to the beast when he met his grisly end, but the Gruul street punk's fate is pitiable nonetheless. DOVIN BAAN, whose colors are white and blue. The procession of dead planeswalkers continues with Mr. BAAN, whose mechanical genius and perfectionism couldn't save him from being assassinated by an unassuming thief beneath his notice. He might have had it coming, though, as much like DOMRI, DOVIN had thrown in his lot with Bolas during the War of the Spark, proving him to be as black-hearted as he is blue-faced. ELSPETH TIREL, whose color is white. A powerful knight from an unknown plane, Elspeth spent her days wandering the multiverse in search of a place to call home until she was made the sun god Heliod's champion and hero. Though she was shockingly cut down by her own god out of paranoia, Elspeth saved herself from a fate worse than death by escaping the underworld in order to dish out some heretical justice on the power-mad Heliod. ESTRID, whose colors are green, white, and blue. With magic that embodies the Jungian concept of the persona, the vain enchantress ESTRID can change power and fighting styles by simply equipping one of her many masks. Not much is known about ESTRID, and due to Wizards of the Coast apparently finding her design hard to work with in other mediums, she may forever remain shrouded in mystery behind that mask. GARRUK WILDSPEAKER, whose color is green. Once a proud hunter with an innate understanding of nature, the towering druid GARRUK's heart was corrupted by a Chainveil curse. Now he hunts the most dangerous game of all, Planeswalkers. His bloodlust never satisfied even after being freed of the curse. While he wasn't exactly a saint before, his descent into a violent, monstrous serial killer is proof of the power dark magic can hold over men. GIDEON JURA, whose color is white. You'd think that his mastery of hieromancy, the magic of holy justice, granting him near invulnerability, would keep Gideon safe from death, but tragically the heroic beef slab's altruistic nature was his own undoing, offering up his own life as collateral to save necromancer Liliana from the terms of a demonic contract. Gideon's sacrifice ultimately turned the tide of the war and ensured a brighter future for his fellow planeswalkers. HUATLI, whose colors are green and white. Allegedly inspired by Joan of Arc, the dino-riding crusader HUATLI initially couldn't visit other universes, despite her planeswalker powers, thanks to her home plane binding her with powerful magic. Now that she's free, HUATLI puts her venerated title of warrior poet to use by visiting new worlds and honoring her fallen companions through verse. JACE BELEREN, whose color is blue. The main man himself, the face of Magic the Gathering, is as iconic as any planeswalker can be. Possessing dominion over perception, Jace's magic is a veritable grab bag of powers, including memory alteration, illusions, and the ability to see the future. To list his whole resume and accomplishments would take an entire video of its own, so just trust me when I say he's kind of a big deal. Jaya Ballard, whose color is red. Born on the streets and throwing away a promising career in magical academia for the freewheeling life of a task mage, Jaya originally made her mark as one of the OG planeswalkers introduced before the Mending. Nowadays, her years have caught up with her, but she still retains her characteristic iron will, the flint from which her powerful pyromancy is sparked. Jiang, whose color is green. This amnesiac nomadic boy hails from the plane of mountains and seas and is always accompanied by his adorable and intelligent pet dog, Mau. Mau can, by a quirk of Jiang's spark, planeswalk alongside his master, allowing the pair to venture forth to untold lands in search of their true identity. Jiang also proved as an invaluable asset in the War of the Spark, helping get civilians to safety, while Mau went full beast mode. Karn, whose color is colorless. A silver golem created as a crash test dummy for time travel experiments, Karn became the first ever artificial planeswalker by ingesting some magical artifacts left by his master following their death. While initially a rigid pacifist who refused to harm another being, Karn eventually came to realize that sometimes fighting is necessary to protect the innocent. And it's a good thing too, as the big lug was critical in taking down Nicol Bolas at the climax of the War of the Spark. Kasmina, whose color is blue. A proficient teacher of the magical arts, Kasmina's mentor skills are reflected by her card's ability to lend her powers to other planeswalkers. In battle, she favors transformation magic, polymorphing foes into frogs and other harmless creatures. Kasmina is set to get more focus in the Strixhaven expansion, so stay tuned. Kea, whose colors are white and black. An unwitting pawn of the sinister Bolas, Kea once skirted the line between hero and villain thanks to her strong sense of justice and principles, keeping her from straying into full-on malevolence. She's thankfully working off her dark debts now and works as an assassin of spirits. Basically an interdimensional ghostbuster, if you will. The Kenrith twins. Their colors are blue and red. These young twin planeswalkers, Will's the one in blue while Rowan's in red, are unique in that they share a spark which binds them together in both ability and destiny. That means that if one of them travels to a different plane, the other is dragged along, whether they like it or not. Thankfully, they both seem pretty content in their present role as a mentor at Strixhaven, which allows them to be free of the responsibilities imparted by their royal blood. Koira, whose colors are green and blue. The haughty Koira is a powerful merfolk who bears a strong hatred of land-dwelling beings. With her dominion over powerful sea beasts like krakens and leviathans, it's best to stay on her good side, unless you're fixing to become fish food. Koira presently wields a powerful trident, which she stole from the goddess Thassa, if you needed more proof of her mighty resolve. Koth, whose color is red. Known far and wide as Koth of the Hammer, this literally hot-blooded planeswalker can use geomancy to literally move mountains. While Koth seemed to give his life holding off an army of Phyrexians from destroying his home plane, he was later revealed to be alive and in hiding while recouping his strength. You can't stop the rock. Don't stop the rock. Liliana Vess, whose color is black. One of the most important characters in canon, Liliana is torn between the darkness and light by her tragic past and multiple demonic contracts, which grant her powerful necromancy and eternal youth. While she's flip-flopped between hero and antagonist multiple times, her nuanced, evolving relationships with the cast have made her a fan favorite since the pre-Mending days. Luca, whose color is red. Sometimes the question is raised of whether it's better to be respected or feared. And to that, Luca asks, why not both? His ex-military background and ability to bond with fearsome beasts like his trusty winged tiger have granted him untold strength, but a corrupted sense of justice and duty led him to believe that maybe things would be better if he was in charge. Mu Yanling, whose color is blue. After a massive tidal wave consumed her homeland, the orphan Mu Yanling dedicated herself to mastering the art of water magic to control the element that had caused her so much pain. Mu's since set off on a quest to find her disappeared mentor and undo the tragedies of her past, even seeking out the secrets of time magic to that end. Nahiri, whose colors are white and red. An ancient core nomad from before the Mending, Nahiri was once known as a great hero and force for good. All that changed because of the actions of one man, fellow planeswalker Sorin Markov, who betrayed Nahiri and left emotional scars so deep that she dedicated the rest of her existence to hunting him down and making him pay. She's filled the role of antagonist several times since then, clashing with Jace and company between pursuing her unending feud with Sorin. Narset, whose colors are blue, white, and red. One of the few characters to have their lore completely rewritten due to time shenanigans, Narset went from a Jisaki Khan to a student of the Elder Dragon Ojutai. Filled with a burning curiosity to uncover the secret history of her plane, her spark was ignited upon disobeying her master's orders and seeking out knowledge hidden in the Forbidden Archives, which means she's now free to search the multiverse for the answers she craves. Nicol Bolas, whose colors are blue, black, and red. Arguably the main villain of the post-Mending magic lore, Nicol Bolas is a treacherous elder dragon and the self-described Deathbringer, determined to absorb the sparks of every planeswalker in the multiverse and become a god. Despite his incredible influence and power to shatter minds with a single touch, Old Nick was eventually defeated, stripped of his spark, and imprisoned within the mediation realm for all of eternity. But only time will tell if the Machiavellian Drake is truly gone for good. Nico Aris, whose colors are blue and white. At a young age, a clairvoyant decreed that Nico Aris was bound for greatness, predicting that they would grow up to be a renowned javeliner with perfect aim. Nico dove headfirst into the cushy life of a pro athlete at first, but over time questioned if they could perhaps do more with their talents. They wound up purposefully throwing a competition, proving that anyone could control their own fate, and casting aside stardom to become a benevolent hero instead. Nissa Ravain, whose colors are green, blue, and black. Once an elitist bigot, Nissa over time learned the virtues of doing right by everyone. Dropping her elf-centric beliefs to protect the greater multiverse from the Eldrazi threat, her powers consist of manipulation of nature and the elements, allowing the snooty elf to commune with the land itself and sense life energy, skills which come in handy both in lore and in the card game. Ob Nixilis, whose colors are black and red. As one of the main villains of the Battle of Zendikar storyline, the cursed human-turned-demon Ob Nixilis is a nasty piece of work. While most planeswalkers see their sparks ignite during a moment of triumph or desperation, Ob's activated in response to a demon wiping out all life on his world, granting the devilish despot infinite worlds to conquer in its place. Oko, whose colors are green and blue. Anyone who knows Fey beings know they love to cause mischief, and Oko is no exception. Known to wander the universe and pull cruel pranks on anyone he comes across, Oko cemented his status as a major threat by defeating and subjugating the mighty GARRUK. Many a veteran player is likely traumatized by his powerful ability to polymorph enemy creatures into mere elks as well. Ral Zarek, whose colors are blue and red. A magical inventor with the mad scientist hair to match, Ral Zarek is driven by his deep-seated insecurity to constantly prove his superiority to others, an obnoxious compulsion which hides his noble true nature. While he spent some time under the thumb of Bolas, Ral's since moved to make amends by hunting down the Elder Dragon's surviving minions and ensuring they can't hurt anyone else. Saheeli Rai, whose colors are blue and red. Hailing from the same gadgeter plane as Chandra, Saheeli Rai's forte is crafting lifelike automaton replicas of living creatures out of metal. While normally coming across as caring and sweet, she shows a competitive edge when engaging in metalworking contests with her peers, and isn't afraid to remind people why she's considered one of the top artificer duelists in the land. Samut, whose colors are red and green. A warrior archaeologist wielding powerful speed magic, Samut discovered a dark secret about her homeworld of Amonkhet, namely that the almighty god pharaoh her people worshipped was none other than Nicol Bolas, the Deathbringer, and that he had sinister plans in mind for Amonkhet. Thankfully, Samut was able to rally the troops and wage war against her oppressive society and the gods that helped found it, and even helped defeat Bolas once and for all. Sarkhan Vol, whose colors are red, green, and blue. Though he once toiled under Nicol Bolas, Sarkhan eventually saw the light thanks to Narset and used a time gate to jump thousands of years into the past in order to save his home plane from calamity. In the process, he accidentally erased his own birth, leading to the Dragon Whisperer being orphaned in time, a fate he considers a worthy cost for the hope his actions brought the multiverse. Sorin Markov, whose colors are black and white. Despite being a vampire with proficiency in, you guessed it, blood magic, Sorin is a surprisingly benevolent figure in magic lore. Having been the guiding hand behind the maintenance of peace and harmony across multiple planes he visits, Sorin's one to make the hard decisions, putting the greater good above all else, even if it means having to hurt a friend as close as Nahari. Tamiyo, whose colors are blue, green, and white. The perpetually curious Tamiyo takes great pleasure in exploring different planes to experience their uniqueness for herself. However, she abides by a Star Trek Prime Directive-style code which forbids her from getting involved in extraplanar events, regardless of their urgency. Tamiyo would finally break this rule after witnessing the War of the Spark firsthand, deciding she could no longer sit idly by and watch. Teferi, whose colors are blue and white. Pre-mending, Teferi was a time mage powerful enough to affect the entire multiverse with his magic. He was brought down a peg by the events of Time Spiral, which resulted in him sacrificing his spark and therefore large portions of his power as well. While he eventually regained his spark post-mending, the humbling experience left a lasting but positive mark on Teferi's character and morals. Teo Virata, whose color is white. Poor Teo's spark ignited just as the War of the Spark was kicking off, leaving him stranded in the midst of a conflict he wasn't prepared for, nor even fully understood. Fortunately, his strong morals led him to siding with his fellow planeswalkers and taking Bolas down, utilizing his shield magic to protect newfound allies and innocents alike. Tezzeret, whose colors are blue and black. Though Tezzeret, known only by his nickname as his parents never formally named him, served as Bolas's right-hand man, he secretly harbored a great disdain for the Elder Dragon and wanted nothing more than to seize power of his own. With a right arm made from Ethereum and a knack for constructing powerful Magitech soldiers, Tezzeret's ambitions are now free to flourish in his master's absence. The Wanderer, whose color is white. A mysterious sword-wielding planeswalker who always conceals her face no matter where she goes or who she's with. A quirk of her spark causes her to jump dimensions with little control of the timing or destination, making her a sort of cosmic pinball constantly bouncing from plane to plane. Little is known about her past, other than that she bears a serious grudge against Tezzeret. But then again, who wouldn't? Tibalt, whose colors are red and black. Lacking the talent to be a necromancer like he'd always dreamed, Tibalt turned his rage upon the living, torturing innocents with pain magic to test the thresholds of suffering. Ugh. His cruel experiments eventually attracted infernal attention, and he was granted a demonic visage to match his inner malevolence. Nicknamed the Dapper Devil by some fans, Tibalt is a wild card who even stoops to impersonating a god or harassing innocents during life or death struggles just for petty enjoyment. What a jerk. Tyvar Kell, whose colors are green and black. The younger brother of the Elf King, Tyvar is obsessed with status, wanting to be renowned as the greatest warrior in his home plane. To this end, he collects numerous trophies from his many brushes with death, and actually dislikes planeswalking, because it means he has to re-establish his glory every time he visits a new plane. Ugin, who is colorless. The benevolent twin brother of Nicol Bolas, Ugin serves as the protective yang to Bolas's destructive yin. Transcending colored mana in favor of his all-incinerating ghost fire, Ugin is capable of matching his sibling in both power and influence, though his big-picture thinking sometimes draws the ire of planeswalkers focused on helping individuals and communities, which Ugin considers beneath his station. Venser, whose colors are blue and white. An artificer and mage specializing in teleportation magic who sacrificed his life and spark to save Karn at the end of the Scars of Mirrodin novel. While he was a bit rough around the edges, Venser nevertheless worked tirelessly to fix the temporal hazards cropping up across the multiverse, and the impact of his selfless actions continues to echo in eternity. Vivian Reed, whose color is green. One of those humans are the real virus types, Vivian is an eco-terrorist bent on wiping out civilization for the sake of restoring nature across the multiverse. And she's not alone either. Her unique arc bow weapon allows her to summon the spirits of any animals she's slain with it, giving Vivian a veritable army of ghostly beasts at her beck and call. Spooky. Vraska, whose colors are black and green. A Gorgon who barely escaped being murdered at the hands of corrupt lawmakers, Vraska runs a network of assassins bent on doling out karmic justice to all she feels worthy of judgment. While undoubtedly ruthless and not hesitating to even punish her own subordinates' failure with death, Vraska is ultimately a tragic figure whose softer side is easily brought out by Jace. Ren, whose colors are red and green. Move over Venom, there's a new symbiote in town. While the vengeful Dryad Ren is something of an X-factor in Magic lore, what we do know about her is that she wields fire magic and bonds with and pilots tree folk like organic mech armor. She's currently on her 6th one, the aptly named 6, and they're somehow able to break the rule of organic material being unable to shift alongside a planeswalker. Xenagos, whose colors are red and green. This nasty piece of work was formerly just a hedonistic satyr, but once his planeswalker's spark was ignited, his ambition began to grow out of control. Discovering that the gods draw their power from devotion and belief, Xenagos managed to amass enough followers to ascend to godhood himself. Fortunately, he was slain by Elspeth before his plans could progress much further, and the satyr was cast beyond even the underworld into utter oblivion. You. And your color is all of them. That's right, you're a planeswalker. According to old lore and rulebooks, each player in a given Magic the Gathering game is a planeswalker themselves, because who else could command such powerful magic and such extraordinary creatures? So you may as well reach back and give yourself a pat on the back, you legendary being you. And that's all of them, from AJANI to Xenagos. Thanks for watching, and be sure to sound off in the comments to let us know who your favorite planeswalker is. Leave a like and subscribe to the Leaderboard for more gaming content. I'm AJ Fry, thanks for watching, and see you in the future.